Being trans is already expensive. Top surgery, hormones, therapy, even basic gender affirming care can cost thousands of dollars over the span of a lifetime. And now, there's a growing industry making even more money off of our dysphoria. Coaches and fitness experts that claim their programs will build confidence and help us feel at home in our bodies, when in reality, it seems like they're only trying to profit off of trans men's insecurities. If you've been very active on the trans side of social media, you probably know exactly who and what I'm talking about. A growing number of trans fitness influencers are targeting young trans men with their coaching programs, marketed as the key to build a strong masculine body. Some even claim their workouts can help reduce chest size prior to top surgery. Today I want to break down exactly how these influencers who have built such massive and loyal followings profit and capitalize off of trans men's dysphoria. In general, there's a very clear playbook that these trans influencers follow. 1. A heavy focus on dysphoria and masculinity. 2. A lack of transparency and blatant price gouging. 3. Individualized programs, though often online, that really aren't individualized at all. Alright, let's start with the first. The focus on dysphoria and masculinity. Now, at first this seems relatively harmless, even logical. Of course a trans fitness coach is going to market themselves off of their transness, right? That's what sets them apart in a crowded fitness market. The idea of working with someone who truly understands our experience, someone who knows what it's like to navigate dysphoria, or to step into a gym the first time while trans, can feel very empowering. The issue is not with being trans, or even with wanting a trans fitness coach. It's that these programs are not about creating safe, affirming spaces. They're built off of weaponizing dysphoria to rope people in and keep them spending. I'll give an example. A couple months ago, I stumbled upon this particular account, Masculinity Made, and for a while I couldn't quite understand why it just felt off. The workouts were fine, the marketing clearly polished, but there was something that just rubbed me wrong. And then it hit me. It was the name, Masculinity Made. Because when you think about what that implies, it indicates that your masculinity is incomplete. It's not yet made. And the way you do make it is by buying, by signing up for this program, paying hundreds of dollars a month. It hits on an insecurity that nearly every trans man has felt at some point. The fear of not being masculine enough, the fear of not passing. That quiet voice that says, if I could just look like that, maybe I'd finally feel like myself. These female-to-male workout programs sell not only a fitness plan, but an identity. They promise that, for a price, you can become the idealized version of masculinity that these influencers seem to embody. I mean, who doesn't want to look like this? And look, wanting to look strong, be fit, wanting to pass, none of that is inherently bad. Fitness can be life-changing and, yeah, definitely gender-affirming. But when someone packages your dysphoria into a product essentially telling you that buying my program is how you become masculine enough, it doesn't look great. To be fair, this isn't necessarily limited to the trans community, right? Cisgender men deal with this all the time in online spaces as well. We have entire communities dedicated to blackpilling or looksmaxing. There is a constant pressure to bulk up and fix these perceived flaws. So why do I take issue with these trans influencers specifically? Well, it's because of the second point, which is exploitative price gouging and a lack of transparency. Listen, being trans is hard. It's difficult. It's expensive. You've probably heard of the trans tax, right? We spend such an insane amount of money on hormones, surgery, gender-affirming products, updating legal documents, and so on. On top of that, many of us already face financial instability with disproportionate rates of homelessness and low income. Not to mention that when you're trans, you have to spend thousands of dollars over hormones and surgeries over and over again, essentially forcing you into a state of poverty. I do believe that virtually every trans person knows this to some extent, and herein lies the issue with these influencers' lack of transparency. I looked into female-to-male workout programs by 5 major influencers. Not a single one listed their price on their application. Well, here's what I found when I tried to apply. Virtually all websites had no payment rates listed anywhere, with instead a vague budget range, roughly $400 to $650 per month. This one is from Lucas Wood's training program, and as you notice, as I'm filling out this form, there's no mention of payment anywhere. Instead, a vague, "this is paid one-to-one coaching." Alright, well, surely Alxye must be better, right? Let's check it out. Yikes. Still no payment option. Instead, they ask for a monthly budget, with the starting option, $400, remote. There are no payment rates listed anywhere, the closest being to a budget of around $400 to $650 a month. Now, I don't know if I'm stressing correctly just how much money that is, right? If you're a trans man, here's a list of things that you can buy with $400 per month. 3 months of testosterone, 3 rolls of trans tape, 2 binders, 1 month of a gym membership, 1 STP freely painted packer with a harness, highly recommend by the way, a pack of boxers, a beard kit, an electric razor. $400 is an insane amount of money, especially if you're low income and every dollar matters. Now, selling a gym course that primarily focuses on reducing dysphoria while knowing the trans community is financially and economically disadvantaged, and still choosing to purposefully inflate your prices while refusing to even list a solid payment rate, is at best tone deaf, and at worst, blatantly exploitative. You are profiting off of the dysphoria of our fellow trans men. I came across a particularly nefarious example here when applying for Masculinity Made. I don't know if it's just me, but this is crazy. And what stands out the most, besides $3,000, which by the way is roughly how much top surgery costs with insurance, is the quote-unquote, "I'm open to using credit as an option. I cannot afford this," is not a possibility. There's no sliding scale or consideration of low-income people. You're just expected to finance this gym course through credit. Surely I can't be the only one that finds this concerning. These programs are targeting young trans individuals, people who haven't been able to get top surgery, people who may not have been able to start hormones, people who are very likely intensely dysphoric. Many of them young adults who may not be financially literate, giving them the impression that it's acceptable to spend hundreds, even thousands, on credit for a gym course under the guise of reducing dysphoria is incredibly exploitative. Now, alright, let's give the benefit of the doubt. The average session with a fitness coach can cost anywhere from $50 to $100, so potentially looking at $200 to $400 per month, with $400 obviously being in the higher range. Couldn't you just argue that these trans influencers are offering something unique, experiences or skills that a typical cisgender trainer may not have? Well, there's several answers here. The first is, regardless of whether or not the price is valid, there needs to be some transparency around it. Why ask for a budget when you could just state your rates? Anyone who's not giving a rate upfront is not operating in good faith. Instead, these influencers make you fill out an application, join a consultation call, and only then will you get a sense of how much you're expected to pay. And very often, if you're not able to pay up front, you're met with judgment, shaming, or condescension. I want to highlight this Reddit comment I found on Masculinity Made. Many thanks to Alxye. The Redditor notes, "I did 2 meetings with to see if this program would be right for me. It seems like a great program itself, but the people seem really scammy. I've talked to 2 different middlemen now, and they won't give me a price or even a ball range until I say I'm ready to commit financially. They're talking about down payments and payment plans, but they won't even tell me how much it is. I think they're taking advantage of young and desperate trans masked people. On virtually every single one of these sites, there is no transparency as to what their payment rates look like. Now the second issue is that you're not really paying for a better gym plan. You're not paying for an in-person trainer or anything more substantial than what a cis trainer could provide. What you're actually paying for is the fact that these coaches are trans." This is another comment from a Reddit user that I believe puts this perfectly into words. "I've noticed this problem with people who market to trans people in general, and it seems like many are capitalizing on and encouraging trans people's fears of using standard services. These places benefit from trans people being uncomfortable using standard services, There is a level where they only exist at the market price that they do because they know and take advantage of the fact that many trans people are afraid of using standard services, and to some level they contribute to that fear, making it seem like they are the only places that you will be welcome when that is simply not true. And he's right. These coaches are essentially profiting off the anxiety, shame, and dysphoria that many trans men experience when going to the gym or working with a cis trainer. In doing so, they make it seem as though these online programs are the only alternative to feeling safe and secure in one's masculinity as a trans man. If you really think about it, there's only two things that these trans coaches have over other cis coaches. One, they're trans, and two, they're trans and they look great. Now sure, having a trans coach is validating. Everyone wants a coach who doesn't judge them, who's empathetic, who knows what you're going through. And second is this idea of hope, that you can see a trans guy succeed and look and feel confident and masculine in his body. And that's beautiful. And look, these coaches have great physiques. I mean, I want to look like this too. It's a compelling reason for many young people to go to these coaches specifically. But herein lies the issue. One is that you can get the same and cheaper training elsewhere by a cis coach that doesn't charge you an arm or leg $500 per month. And two, these fitness influencers aren't as individualized as advertised. Now, to be clear, paying $200 per month for individualized in-person coaching is fairly standard, with $400 definitely being on the higher end. These programs by these trans influencers aren't often individualized. They tend to be virtual, pre-planned, set up in advance. Here's a couple Reddit posts discussing this. One notes that they had been working with Masculinity Made, with Grayson Beck, the founder of MM, paying nearly $300 each month for 6 months. And it turned out to be a quote-unquote total scam. They provide a workout split and a meal plan with check-ins at the end of the week. But when this person would voice them not making any progress, the coach would basically give no response aside from quote-unquote I get it. Their workout split was basic, and they would cram 8 exercises in one gym sesh. For $300 a month, that doesn't quite seem worth it. Another noted they paid over $1,000 for 3 months, and because all of the coaches had around 100 people training at one time, they rarely got any one-on-one help. Coach response times were slow, understandably if you're training 100 people, unhelpful a lot of times, the splits, basic copy and paste and stuff you can find online for free, and as this individual notes, because it's completely virtual, there's no one actually working out with you to check your form, spot you, and push you to do better during your workouts. The community they have is really just a bunch of WhatsApp group chats and a Discord server that are pretty dead a lot of the time. Now, it's not just Masculinity Made that operates like this. Another individual, when talking about Alex Tilinka's workout plan, notes, it's individualized in the way that they basically determine whether you want to cut, bulk, or recomp, then put your weight into a macro calculator for a mediocre meal plan. Workouts and advice, very basic, nothing you can't find online for free. Several more mentioned that the same individual charged around $300 per month to trans guys for basically a weekly check-in online. Then they proceeded to be ghosted for a solid 3 weeks. Plus, charged after cancelled. Our last Reddit comment again affirms the lack of transparency, mentioning that Alxye was listing himself as a certified personal trainer even though he wasn't certified, though he is now. In addition, the vast majority of his one-on-one coaching was insanely expensive, with the starting value being $500. The programs were all copy and paste, though claimed to be quote-unquote tailor-made for each client. Yeah, not a great look. The programs are mediocre at best, don't provide in-person support, and all the information they give you can find online. Now, I want to end by expressing my extreme disappointment in these coaches, right? Us trans men already have so much shit to go through. It's rough. Forcibly going through female puberty is traumatizing, and then being forced to live in that body, feeling like you're not masculine enough, feeling like everything's wrong, feeling like you're not good enough, is even more traumatizing. I can absolutely understand why trans men would feel desperate and dysphoric enough to buy into a scam like this. What's so disappointing is that these coaches, both as trans men themselves and as people in a position of authority, should know better. They should understand the gravity of that dysphoria and desperation. With how vulnerable a population the trans community is, with how large a platform they have, they bear a responsibility to act ethically. And exploiting us and our dysphoria for profit is blatantly inexcusable. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more content, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.